What kind of a crazy world is this?
It's the kind of a crazy world in which the Conservatives have the luxury of not being in power, so they can say any old thing that occurs to them, safe in the knowledge that no one will remember it should they eventually win some far-off election. David, call me Dave, Cameron has obviously been studying the Daily Mail for inspiration and has come out with some half-hearted nonsense about returning discipline to the classrooms. While he doesn't want to bring back the cane, a point on which he parts company with some of the Tory grassroots who want it returned to both the classrooms and their bedrooms, he is calling for teachers to be able to physically restrain, grab and search children who step out of line. The legal profession are rubbing their hands with glee at that little proposal. What's the definition of stepping out of line? Where does grabbing end and assaulting begin? The entire school system should prepare to be sued into a black hole in space by a queue of unemployed, chavvy, fat mums who can't believe that the teacher raised his hand to their potato-faced offspring just because he was stabbing Sir at the time. It'll be revenge of the hoodies, and we'll all pay their legal fees. Not that this is a new problem. Hoodies were the favourite attire of ne'er-do-wells in the Middle Ages, when people actually used the phrase ne'er-do-wells. The teenage apprentice boys of London were a lawless and violent scourge of the capital as far back as the 12th century, and hooded tops were a favoured way of hiding their identity, as they created havoc and fear whenever they went. You know the sort of thing, hanging around outside taverns, asking passers-by to buy them some mead, knocking the hoops off barrels, and taking a shire horse for a joyride. But order was restored in quick measure in the 1100s. No sooner had youths reached the age of indiscipline than they'd be dead. Through TB, whooping cough, rickets, you name it, it felled them before they were 30. David Cameron needs to learn that lesson. Never mind about physical intervention, forget about the belt. What young folk need today is the plague. That'll teach 'em. I just passed that on as a suggestion.
Cheerful.
Well, I bet the Mail will be leading on that tomorrow. That'll restore discipline to the classroom. Kill them all, they'll say.
We're very quiet, at least.
Yeah. Hey, do you know about the, all of the press, of course, are still full of the Olympic flame thing. When events unfold during the day, and we've had our fill of them, of course, the paper press haven't had their chance to weigh in yet, and so they fill us in on the story that we already know about the day after, by which time we're sick of it. And we don't want to know about it anymore. We know that, they will say, as they tell us what we heard yesterday. But that's the problem with the printed press, and that's, I think, is what will eventually see it off. Well, there's an ever-declining number of people who are reading the press these days. I bet if you get me the ABC figures, not one single newspaper is selling more. And look at him, springing into action.
Now, I actually know for a fact that one is, but you're not going to like it.
It's the Star. Yeah, I know that, yeah. But a year on year, I think the Star is an unusual case. It is, remember, coming from a very low base, so any percentage increase will be, relatively insignificant. But for newspapers in general, it's a steady downward slope to oblivion. We're just not going to be reading them anymore. People don't like the ink on their hands. I can't believe that the Daily Mail is still the only newspaper that prints ink that doesn't come off on your hands. Eventually, it's my tea backing up on me, sorry about that. Eventually we'll find out, and they'll put a little apology at the back of the paper, so you can't see it. Sorry about this. You know that you're all dying of mysterious cancers and other assorted ailments? Yeah, it's the ink that's been seeping through your skin all these years. Sorry, they'll say. It's bound to be something like that. Well, the amount of things that you slather over your body. I mean, your skin is your biggest organ. Isn't that a shame, James? It covers you almost entirely. And the amount of stuff we slather on it is, on a daily basis, it's awful. I mean, the stuff that goes under your arms, for a start. You are wearing some, I hope.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why Victoria isn't backing away at the other end of the room.
And you put it on a daily basis. Have you ever read the ingredients?
It's aluminium, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Do you want to slather aluminium on your most delicate area?
I'd rather not.
Well, how about your underarms?
I wouldn't say that's my most delicate area, but still.
It can't be good for you. You know it can't. In fact, there has been a suggestion that it has something to do with breast cancer, right? Well, they're right next to each other as far as the topography goes. Makes perfect sense to me. Talcum powder, there's another one. barely leave the house unless I've been powdered from top to toe. Like Louis XIV I am. And that can't be doing me any good either. What?
You're looking fabulous, by the way.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I'm looking fabulous. This had nothing to do with what I was about to talk about, which was the Olympic flame. How on earth did I get to talcum powder from the Olympic flame? Did I mention the Olympic flame before any of that?
It did come up, briefly.
Well, try and draw me back. Talcum powder, underarms, ink from newspapers.
Because the story was in the Daily Mail.
Right.
Because newspapers are always a day late with the news.
That's right, and the reason is that they're all, yes, they're a day late with the news, and the people aren't going to be reading them anymore. Oh. I'm only, 6 minutes in, and already I've lost my way. I need to drop bits of bread behind me to make sure I can always find my way back. And turn around and find that ducks have eaten them all. Anyway, the Olympic flame. Do you know where the Olympic flame originates? Because we like to think that the tradition of carting the flame about and lighting it just before the games begin, most inspirationally of all at the Barcelona games. When, controversially, some people would tell you, oh, yes, he did. Some people would say, oh, no, he didn't. The guy in the wheelchair shot the flaming arrow through the air, through the night sky, and the cauldron burst into flames as he got a hole-in-one. That was one of the most tremendous bits of television I think has ever been put on. Some people will say, well, he missed by a country mile, and they just flicked a switch and it all burst into flames anyway. But do you know... unless you read the Independent today, or have previous knowledge, do you know what the Olympic flame tradition is all about? Do you know how it started and when?
Do tell.
All right, then. Hitler.
Oh, no.
It's all about Hitler. It's got nothing to do with the Greeks at all. Isn't that shocking? We're just carrying on Adolf's good work. There's a two-word answer to those who think that the Olympic torch is a symbol of harmony between nations that could be kept apart from politics. Adolf Hitler. That's the lead in this article from the Independent today. I had no idea. Previously, I did assume that this was a Greek thing. They had the eternal flame in Greece and, sandals and togas and, the whole bit. Always be careful of your toga when carrying a naked flame. That's why they used to exercise completely in the nude, so that they wouldn't, burst into flames. I'll get back into this as we come back from the news, because otherwise I'll be straddling it not the news, the travel. I'll be straddling it one side and then the other, which always seems untidy to me. But it did come as a bit of a shock that the tradition of the Olympic flame only goes back as far as Adolf Hitler. What a shocker. Do you think they're there yet? Shall we go a little bit early? Shall we test them?
Not quite yet.
Not quite? Oh, what? Phil, you mean?
Basically, yeah.
The ceremony played out on the streets of Paris yesterday did not originate in ancient Greece, nor even in the 19th century, when the Olympic movement was revived. The entire ritual, with its pagan overtones, was devised by a German named Dr. Karl Diem, who ran the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. Are we surprised yet? Although he was not a Nazi, he was appointed to run... He was just following orders. He was appointed to run the Olympics before the Nazis came to power. He adapted very quickly to the new regime and ended the war as a fanatical military commander, exhorting teenage Germans to die like Spartans rather than accept defeat. Oh, it sounds like a Nazi to me. Thousands did, but not Diem, who lived to be 80. He sold to Joseph Goebbels, in charge of media coverage of the Games, the idea that 3,422 young Aryan runners should carry burning torches along the 3,422-kilometre route from the Temple of Hera on the Mount Olympus to the stadium in Berlin. That's how it all started. So technically it did come from Berlin, but it was Adolf's idea in the first place. From Greece, rather. It was his idea, this doctor, that the flame should be lit under the supervision of a high priestess using mirrors to concentrate the sun's rays, and passed from torch to torch along the way, so that when it arrived in Berlin Stadium it would have a quasi-sacred purity. The concept could hardly fail to appeal to the Nazis, who loved pagan mythology, and saw ancient Greece as an Aryan forerunner of the Third Reich. We're not liking it so much anymore, are we? There's a bit more of this to come. Hang on a moment. It's 7:45. LBC Travel with Alan Joyce.
Thanks, Nick. Firstly, in Croydon, there's still...
Yeah?
We have a How Low auction running at the moment. It's for a 32-inch Samsung LCD TV, baby. It is super fantastic, HD ready, built-in Freeview, high-definition scaling. I don't know what that is, but it sounds as though it's something that no home should be without. When you nail it to the wall, it will be the second most enjoyable thing you've ever had. To enter this reverse auction, the person with the lowest unique bid wins. Text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. If it was 78p, for instance, you text LBC 78 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines closed 7pm Wednesday 9th of April. Bidders must be over 16. lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. I'll go back to the Olympics in just a moment. First, here's Colin Bromley. Hello, Bill.
Hi.
Bill.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. I just thought I'd let you know a bit more. You were talking about talcum powder.
Yes.
And we've been throwing it over ourselves and our children for, since doomsday, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was in the 1970s when I used to work in the insurance industry. There was a problem in one of the mines. They used to mine it in the States.
Powder?
No, it's not powder. What it comes out like is marble.
Marble?
Yeah. It looks like marble, and you rub it together, and it comes down to a powder.
Oh.
The only trouble was, that in certain of the mines, the actual dust, when it was rendered down to the powder, became very similar, if not almost the same, as the fibres in asbestos.
Right, and that's a bad thing.
Well, we've been throwing it over ourselves. Not very good, is it?
So we're actually dousing ourselves with asbestos dust?
Well, something similar.
Right.
Only from certain places, and that was in the 70s. Now, they've stopped it now, I think, obviously, but it was, in fact, dug out of the mountains. It comes out almost the same as I say, the marble, and it's crushed down, and that's where you get your powder from.
Right.
So, basically, up until a certain time, I suppose it must have been in the 70s, they were busy grinding this stuff up, and we were busy throwing it all over our kids and yourselves.
And splashing it all over, yeah. OK, well, I'll remember not to visit the 70s anytime soon.
Well, I think we're all right now, but...
there's no doubt about it. Everything's completely safe now, Bill. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. yes. I mean, there are about 1,001 other things now to worry about.
Yeah. But, OK, well, I'll take that on board. Thanks very much for the warning there, Bill. Cheers, mate.
You've got that in reserve for 30 years' time.
OK, great. I'll look forward to that. Dying of talcum powder that I put on my feet in the 1970s. Great. Well, this show's off to a really bright start, eh? We've had Hitler and death.
And the plague.
Death from powder. Oh, and the plague, yeah, I forgot about that. Cheam, hello, Sue.
Hi, Nick.
Sue.
It's rapidly downhill, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all comedy-wise. The reason I'm calling, I think you're a hero. You're the first person I've heard mention aluminium and underarm products in the same breath, and it's something that I've been banging on about. I've been phoning television programs when they've had all these surveys about different products and how well they perform, to point out the fact that aluminium has actually been linked with Alzheimer's, and goodness knows what else damage it can do to the body. But it's in so many things, even in muffins, as a rising agent.
Muffins?
Yeah. It's E54 something or other, or something like that. I ran upstairs when I heard you say and tried to find my diaries, because I've written it in there to avoid anything with that E number in it.
The trouble is, nothing else works quite as well, does it? I mean, you try that rock salt stuff, and you still sweat.
Well, exactly, it's just... But at the same time, on a sadder note, my friend is actually battling breast cancer at the moment, and she's actually, although she was treated, it's spread, and she's gone in now to hopefully to get things sorted out, because it's spread so badly. But at the same time, so many people now are getting this, even men, and I wonder if it's all these underarm sprays that are causing the problem.
I think that there's a lot of things that we use on a daily basis that in 10 years' time, people are going to be looking at, like today they look at smoking, for instance.
Yeah.
They think, well, if only we'd known, they'll say. But, there's something in the back of your mind that thinks, well, maybe it's not such a good idea to slather this, we've got no idea what it is, under our arms, every single... I mean, if you think about it, you get washed and you put it on straight away. So, really, there's no time in your life, when you, in your grown-up life, when you don't have this stuff on.
Well, the thing is, who in their right mind would think that putting aluminium on their skin is a good idea? Yeah. Underarms is one of the most absorbent places for absorbing products into your system that there is on your whole body. Why would you want to do that? To be quite honest, if I ever win a huge amount on the lottery, these manufacturers better watch out, because I'm coming to get them, because they are poisoning us all.
Right, OK. Thanks very much, Sue.
Thank you, darling.
So you've got a choice. You can either smell and never have sex, or smell lovely and die. Those are the choices that are available to you. Hands up who wants to smell and who wants to not smell and have sex? Hands up who wants to smell and not have sex. Well, that's overwhelming. I think as a nation we're thinking, the hell with it. I don't care if I do die. 0845 6060 973. And on a related topic, by the way, Kylie Minogue was talking about doctors and that they don't know anything, and that she'd got given the all clear and come to find out that she actually had breast cancer. And she was saying that don't believe what the doctors say. Just because they've got a white coat on doesn't mean to say they know anything. And I'd have to back that up. Always get a second opinion. And if you don't like that one, get a third one. Even on the NHS, I mean, you don't have to pay for your doctors to get a second opinion. I think it's your entitlement to go and ask for a second opinion. I mean, somebody told me that I took my knee, I went to the doctor with my knee, and he said, oh, that's arthritis. This was back in December. 3 months later, found out it wasn't arthritis at all. It was a torn meniscus, which had got significantly worse in the meantime. And I've been hobbling around, grinding bone together for 3 months because this Burke told me I'd got the wrong thing. So confident he was in his instant diagnosis. Could have throttled him. But you can't, because you've got to keep the medical profession on side, eh? Anyway, it's 0845 6060 973. That's probably the only time that I'll agree with anything that Kylie Minogue says. And here's one of her hits, a celebration. Here we go. Play it in, James. Hut! No? Right, back to the Olympics. See if I can squeeze us in before the news. So, we've come to find out that the torch relay has got nothing to do with Greece. It's all about Adolf Hitler and the Berlin Games in 1936. The ancient games were proclaimed by messengers bearing olive crowns, a symbol of the sacred truce, which guaranteed that athletes could travel to and from Olympus safely. There were no torch relays associated with the ancient Olympics until Hitler. The route from Olympus to Berlin conveniently passed through Bulgaria, Yugoslavia, Hungary, Austria, and Czechoslovakia, which was practically a menu for him. Countries where the Nazis wanted to extend their influence. Before long, all would be under German military occupation. In Hungary, the flame was serenaded by gypsy musicians who would later be rounded up and sent to death camps. Despite its dark political overtones, the event was an unqualified success for the organisers, immortalised in a propaganda film by the Nazi director Leni Riefenstahl. The ritual has been repeated before each Olympics, but not always with such organisational flair. In Melbourne in 1956, the 19-year-old athlete Ron Clark burnt his hand as he put the torch on the cauldron because technicians had increased the gas flow, fearing it might not be lit. When the Games returned to Australia 44 years later, Clark was persuaded to do the honours again, and burnt his arm again. If at first you don't succeed, keep doing the same thing over and over. One of the Australians taking part in the 2000 torch ceremony decided to do his stretch in a tractor instead of on foot. Before yesterday, the flame had gone out just twice. It was extinguished by a sudden downpour in Montreal in 1976, when a worker scandalously relit it with a cigarette lighter, forgetting the pagan mystique involved. It should have been relit from a backup torch. I wonder if that's what they did in France. Because they put it out to get on the bus, didn't they? Probably health and safety rules. Yesterday's events pushed the number of such mishaps from 2 to 5, making President of the IOC, Jacques Rogge, furious. Violence, for whatever reason, is not compatible with the values of the torch relay or the Olympic Games, he said. Someone should have told Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, by the way, was a very bad man. Here is a bloke in a cab called John. John.
Hi, Nick.
Yes.
Hi, mate. Yeah, Nick, I know it's something completely different than what you have been talking about this evening so far.
Go on.
But I just wanted to put something to you so that maybe some other listeners out there might have the questions to it. Obviously, I get fuel every day for the cab, and I normally put in around about 20 litres, say, for a day.
Yeah, you'll have to get to the question, John. We're running out of time.
Okay, mate. Is there basically a sort of weights and measures check that goes around these petrol stations? Because I'm finding some huge variations in mileage from the same 20 litres.
Right. When is a litre not a litre, I think, is the question there. This is LBC 97.3, coming towards 8 o'clock.
We will buy your car.
Care what this guy thinks.
No! Speaking of the Olympics, by the way, you remember when we were sold the Olympics and everyone was jumping up and down in Trafalgar Square and woo, they were going, yay, we're going to get the Olympics. And it'll only cost us £3.5 billion.
What?
Which seemed like a very great deal of money. I mean, some people who work in the city might not get out of bed for that kind of cash, but it's a lot to you and me, right? And then they said, oh, well, you know what, might be a little bit more. Not much, just a teensy, itsy, witsy, woo-woo. And I said at the time, I bet it's 12 billion. They said 3.5. I said, I bet it's 12. Guess how much it's actually going to be? That's right. 20 billion pounds. What? That's what this chap says, who used to work for the Olympic Delivery Authority. Jack Lemley, who was forced out of the Olympic Delivery Authority, the ODA. Oh, no, DA. In October 2006, he said he wanted the public to know that the cost of the building at the Stratford venues would be vast. And there's like a computer, I assume it's computer graphics, because there's no buildings there yet. It's still a building site, right? I haven't been out there, ever. Well, who would want to go there? Unless you lived there, you wouldn't want to go there, right? And when they build it all, people still won't want to go there. And they look, well, it looks very impressive. There's a velodrome there. It looks like it's just dropped in, well, I was going to say from space, but you know what? It looks like it's just dropped in from the 1950s. It looks like a sort of a post-war idea of what the future might look like. It's a bit like a now I'm mixing up the decades, but it looks like a 1970s airport. I don't like it. Anyway, I'll do the cost of the individual venues first, and then we can, and that'll seem like a lot of money, and then I'll move on to the actual cost of the full thing, and then you'll be on the floor writhing in pain. The planned 2012 Olympics velodrome, where they cycle, right? Who needs one of them? It's going to cost twice what they said it would. £80 million. And I can tell you right now, it'll be 120. If they say it's 80, it's 120. In another embarrassing price increase, Olympics chiefs confirmed that the budget for the 2012 Aquatics Centre, and you know why they call it aquatics? Because, oh, never mind. It's planned for Stratford's Olympic Park, as well as the cycling facility, is more than tripled to 242 million. So if the aquatic centre's tripled, the velodrome will triple as well. This is why I say 120. And they say 242 million for the aquatics centre. But they haven't built that yet either. It's just it's just flat Earth at the moment, isn't it? It's just brown. So that won't be 242, that'll be 500 billion. The velodrome disclosure comes only 5 months after the Olympics Minister Tessa Jowell told Parliament that the budget for the venue stood at 40 million. So 5 months ago, she said it was 40 million. It's actually 80. So either, one of three things. Either she was being economical with the truth, lying. She didn't know what she was talking about, or something dramatic has happened in the last 5 months to double the price of a building. Now, if you've ever built anything, you'll know that the estimate, and you think that you've taken everything into account, the estimate that you come up with before the building starts, it seems very generous to you. What could possibly go wrong, you think? Well, everything. When you're building things, everything can go wrong. Shadow Olympics Minister Hugh Robertson said, today's figures dramatically illustrate the total inadequacy of the blah, 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 and so on, like he would have done any better. Now, the full cost. Jack Lemley, who was forced out of the Olympic Delivery Authority in 2006, said he wanted the public to know that the cost of building the Stratford venues would be vast. He said that from very early on, the ODA was working to a cost estimate for the Games of well over 12 billion, more than 3 times the 3 billion that they said at the time. So, isn't that shocking? He's saying that they sold us 3 billion, but they knew that it was going to be 12. Hands to mouths all round. Since then, the cost of the 2012 project has mushroomed officially to 9 billion. But Mr Lemley said that he believed the final cost would be 20 billion because of the state of the Stratford site. He said, we were never able to really go public with the full budget. Able? Well, you were, you could have just told us. And we would have had to deal with it. We would have just shrugged our shoulders and gone, oh, well, because 3 billion, 20 billion, it's just all, Mickey, no offence to the Disney Corporation, but it's all Mickey Mouse money to us. Doesn't mean anything. Mr Lemley's claims were dismissed by a spokesman for the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, who said that they were ridiculous. Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? And it was simply untrue to say that the real budget is 12 billion and that this figure has been suppressed. Last year, the Olympics Minister, Tessa Jowell, announced that the budget has risen to 9 billion, but Mr Lemley described the figure as ridiculous, saying he was now positive the budget would rise to £20 billion. He said that he was run out of the ODA because no one wanted to believe the figure. I was deeply concerned about the organisation and the lack of urgency, and I was worried about the dates. Even then, we had a desperately short time to do our work. He said that they hadn't taken sufficient account of the polluted water issues and a sewage treatment plant that discharges hundreds of thousands of cubic metres of raw sewage near the Olympic site. That really does make you want to pack your sandwiches and go over there for a day trip, doesn't it? How lovely. He said the £20 billion was a figure I held at the time, but nobody wanted to hear it because they'd have to admit that they were culpable for suppressing the data. They all had their fingers in their ears, and they were saying, I can't hear you. And you know what? The legacy of the Games? OK, first of all, who thinks it's going to be £3 billion? There's no one. Who thinks it's going to be 9 billion? Still no one. 12? Oh, no takers at 12. How about £20 billion? All the hands are in the air. Yeah, so we believe this guy. Basically, we believe the worst possible outcome. And what they're saying is that, these are going to be, what's the phrase that they use for the actual venues themselves? They're going to be the useful immemorial. What's the phrase that they use? It's the legacy. The L word. That's right, the Olympic legacy. Who wants a velodrome? I mean, who wants a velodrome? An 80, what will be 120 million quid velodrome where you cycle in it. No one. And who wants to go swimming near a raw sewage outlet? Anyone? I mean, if you've swum, like I used to do, up and down and 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 up and down, it's so boring. And the only thing that you will see are plasters floating by. Well, it'll be a lot more than plasters, boys and girls. It's going to be the same thing as they had in Barcelona and Athens and Sydney and everywhere that the Five Rings have touched down. It'll be padlocked, decaying, graffiti-strewn arenas costing a fortune to have somebody trundle around with a torch and keep secure. No one's going to use them. How are you going to have the money to keep these things lit and cleaned and heated and all of the rest of the stuff that, that goes along with it? We're fooling ourselves. We can't afford to keep school playgrounds. We have to sell those off just so they can buy books. We're going to keep a velodrome working. It's nonsense. Here is Kenley. Hello, Tony.
Yeah, I was just saying, I saw a friend of mine in, I work in sunny Stratford, who happens to work for a building company on the Olympic site, and they're building 14 blocks of flats, which are going to cost £2 billion.
Yeah.
The good news is that they're going to be sold off after the Olympics.
Yes.
Are they going to be sold off as the Dome was for Tuppence Halfpenny? And,
well, we're not paying
the dream number on the lottery. But of course we're paying for it. But when they're sold off for 5pence each, will we see the money back in the system again? I doubt it very much. But 14 blocks of flats. I mean, to cost that amount of money, there must be pretty good flats, I would have thought.
Well, I very much doubt it, Tony. They'll probably be microscopic flats, as is the new way, with no cupboards, and a living room that looks like a corridor. You know what they're like. They're all the same.
Yeah, no string-nailed cats. Yeah,
exactly right. No cats allowed, in fact. It's in the lease. Yeah. All right, thanks very much for that, Tony. Cheers. Well, I don't know whether that's true or not. Can I just point out, in the run-up to the mayoral elections, that it is not the position of LBC that Ken is a loony, nor any other member of any other party that is running for office. It's 8:15. LBC Travel with Alan Joyce.
Thanks, Nick. If you're heading onto public transport, a couple of problems on the trains. Firstly, First Capital Connect are delayed via Welham Green because...
845 6060 973, the number. Here's Colin Maidstone. Hello, Mark.
Hello there, Nick.
Mark.
Hello.
Yes, Mark.
Hi. Yeah, it's just a point. He was going on about the velodrome. I used to work sort of near the area, and I believe the velodrome has actually stood on that site for quite a while, up until this point. So I think there's always has been one, but I think in its place will now stand in an Olympic Village afterwards. So it's pretty amazing for a very rundown area. So
there's always been a velodrome there.
As far as I'm aware, yeah. I used to drive past. I could never quite work out what it was. And it was only recently I realised it wasn't a drone.
So, presumably, from what you just said, you've never actually been in there?
No, I never actually saw it used either, so...
Right, that was going to be my question, yeah.
No, I think it's quite astonishing. I didn't realise that figure that you quoted of about £20 billion being presumably or will be spent on it. Is quite an astounding figure, because there's a lot of people that were displaced from their sort of business and the like, and they are sort of still reeling from it, and not necessarily, they're still hurting from it in effect.
Right, okay. Well, thanks for that, Mark. I had no idea that such a thing existed in London at all, or indeed that there was one anywhere in the country. There's a velodrome over there already. Okay, thanks, Mark.
No problem.
0845 6060 973. Because that's the thing about velodromes, because riding around in a circle, around and around and around and around and around, it's just fascinating.
Boring!
Can you imagine anything worse? Good grief. I mean, at least outside, you have nature to look at. You've got fresh air to breathe from the lorries that you're following in a great black cloud of dust. There's the excitement of you might not arrive alive, you know.
But isn't the velodrome like... I thought it was a bit like the Wall of Death. I think they got really slopey walls. It just looked really scary when they go... This is like the high-speed bikes, isn't it, with the big wheels, and they all sort of have funny pointy hats on to make them go
that's right.
faster.
They all look like the alien monster.
Yeah. Well, I think that looks quite... Because it's really scary how fast they go round, and they drive into each other and things.
No, they don't. You're talking of a rollerball.
No!
That's James Caan. That was a film.
No, they're really fast bikes.
Actually, rollerball, they should definitely do that, shouldn't they? Around and around on skates with knuckle dusters on their, knuckles. And somebody, like a machine, blasts a cannonball in the opposite direction to that which they're skating. How fantastic would that be? It'd be like going to the shops in Hackney. It wouldn't be like that at all. I don't know how I came up with that. It would be like fighting for food. The entire world will shortly be fighting for food and water. Now, this has been mentioned a little bit here and there, but the Express had this, they covered this over 2 pages today, because it's actually already started. Now, Waitrose may have had a bit of a problem putting their own brand pasta on the shelves, which will make yummy mummies tut when they get to the right aisle in the supermarket. But that's the least of our problems. People are actually being killed over a lack of food in, less law-abiding countries. And you'd have to think that it's going to come here too. A looming global famine is threatening to push up... This hasn't been a very light-hearted show so far. We've had Adolf Hitler, the plague, what else? Or the Olympics. Well, it was a little bit... No, even that wasn't very light-hearted, was it?
Talcum powder.
Talcum powder, that's right. We're going to die from talcum powder. I'll do medieval hoodies in a minute. And baboons. Baboons have apparently gone crazy. Where have they gone crazy? In Saudi Arabia. I'll come up with that in a minute. A looming global famine is threatening to push up food prices in Britain and lead to riots worldwide. Shortages of staple foods like wheat and rice have already caused unrest in some of the world's poorest countries. Now shoppers in Britain have been warned that they'll soon feel the impact of this growing crisis. Scarce wheat supplies have already started creating problems for the UK imports, with pasta supplies among those to be hit. Hasn't food gone up by something like 20% in the last year? I mean, the basic food stuff, like eggs and bread and milk and all that stuff, it's increased by 1/5 in 1 year. That's incredible, isn't it? Yes, Nick, you're absolutely right. That is incredible.
As always.
The World Food Programme revealed yesterday that global food and fuel prices... Oh, here you go. There it is, written in the paper right in front of me. Global food and fuel prices have surged by an estimated 55% since July. Wow! So that's people's basics have increased by over 50% in less than a year. That's absolutely staggering. I mean, that's the stuff of science fiction. That's the stuff of Mad Max, really, isn't it? We're going to need Mel Gibson to come and rescue us with his mutt dog from our compounds. The WFP, the World Food Programme, Executive Director Josette Sheeran said, "A new face of hunger is emerging. Even where food is available on the shelves, there are now more and more people who simply cannot afford it. The problems have affected rice, one of the world's most important staple foods, with stocks in their lowest level in 3 decades. Tim Lang, Professor of Food Policy at City University in London, said that rice shortages had led to Vietnam, Egypt and India banning rice exports. Well, where else do you get it from? Not only will we not have pasta on the shelves, quite shortly, but we won't have rice either. Thank goodness for crisps. Our staple. Extra demand from India and China, where expanding populations are developing Western tastes, have only made the problem worse. In addition, many farmers worldwide are now growing grain for use as biofuel instead of food. This is putting extra pressure on supplies and pushing up food prices. That whole biofuel thing is insane. And they're pushing us to have, I think it's very shortly, that by law there's going to be 5% of the oil or the petrol that you put in your car. And by the way, that was an excellent question by that cab driver just before the news about half an hour or so ago. I've noticed that, I mean, petrol has gone up a little bit, but it hasn't gone up £10 a tank, has it? And a little while ago, it was 50 quid to fill up my tank. Now it's 60. So, who's checking that a litre is actually a litre? I wonder if anybody actually does that. Because they could just say it's anything. They could make it up, couldn't they?
What's most astonishing is that petrol stations, I noticed on my way in from Essex, where I started, it was £1 1 pence.
What?
Per litre for petrol. When I got here, it was £1 10, some places £1 12. Now, how is that possible? It's only about, I don't know, 10 miles.
It's a higher calibre of petrol for your more sophisticated London customer. You get any old rubbish out in Essex, we just send the bottom of the barrel out to you lot. Yes, so this biofuel stuff, they're persuading us to use well, they're not persuading it, they're insisting on it, to use biofuels in order to save the planet. The exact opposite effect is what will be achieved. People, we're robbing the land of food to produce biofuel. So by cutting down trees and shrubbery and so on to create a monoculture for biofuel, we're actually ruining the atmosphere that we're trying to save by using biofuel. Does anybody understand this?
No.
No. Professor Lang warned that the British consumers could soon start to feel the pinch. He said that I think that's happened already, mate. The pursuit of cheap food is now coming to an end, he said. We've been mining the environment, and I fear that the British customers are going to be relearning lots of lessons that our grandparents knew, which is that food is valuable. It's not cheap. We have to treat it with more respect. In Britain, we throw... Do you know how much food we throw away that we buy as a percentage? Guess how much? That's right, 25%. 25%! That's absolutely staggering. The UK commercial manager at Italian firm Pasta Lenzi, which supplies the UK supermarkets, said the problem was due to a global shortage of durum wheat, the key ingredient in pasta. He blamed two bad harvests combined with increasing customer demand. Supermarket own label pasta had already soared in price over the past year and could get more expensive due to the shortages. Canada, the world's biggest grower of durum wheat, is set to run out by July. The biggest grower of the thing they make pasta from is going to run out in July. This means that they're going to have to buy from European suppliers, putting added pressure. So that's like Saudi Arabia buying oil from us. The whole world's gone crazy. And as I say, the riots and just a general upheaval has started already in China. They pledged to ensure rice supplies to Hong Kong and Macau as panic buying has triggered soaring prices. In Vietnam, the world's second biggest rice exporter, they've halted export deals. So you're not going to be able to get rice anymore. Pretty shortly, I would seriously throw your hands in the air, run screaming out the house, and go and fill your shopping basket with rice. That would be the sensible thing to do, wouldn't it? Panic buying. Let's get to it. In Burkina Faso, I bet you couldn't point to that on a map. I could, because I'm looking at it right now. Burkina Faso, I can't even say it, has frozen customs duties on staple goods to avert a general strike. In the Ivory Coast, they've slashed taxes on imported foods after 2 days of violent protests. In Egypt, the Egyptian government has banned rice exports to hold down local prices. In Haiti, 4 people died and many others were injured in riots over rising food costs. Rice, beans and fruit have gone up 50%, while the price of pasta has doubled. Well, that's pretty much what's happening here, isn't it? I mean, they've gone up 50%, we've gone up something like 25%. In Mexico, thousands marched in Mexico City over the rise in price of tortillas. The demonstration followed a 400% increase in the price of flat cornbread. It'll come here too. I wonder if there'll be riots in the streets, because you can't get a chunky Kit Kat, or whatever it is that constitutes your daily bread. A double-decker.
You have to list them all now.
All right, flake. Curly Whirlies. Do they still make Curly Whirlies?
No.
So, don't they? What a swizz that was, by the way. Curly Whirlies. It looked huge, but what constitutes a Curly Whirly is almost microscopic. It's all air. Because they just got... It's just a lattice work of chocolate-covered toffee, right?
Yeah, but they're so chewy. You can't have all chewy stuff because it's bad
Sure
for
you
your
can.
teeth.
Oh, rubbish. Have you ever heard such nonsense in all your life? What, they're doing it in order to help us? That's right, yeah. They're making it look really big. They're making a product that's small look huge in order to help to aid the dental health of the nation. I had no idea. 97.3 LBC.
Okie dokie.
John Cleese is going to help Barack Obama. I thought that was against the rules. I thought that people were hyperventilating over there because Elton John was going to help Hillary. He's going to help Hillary, right? There was a big to-do because Elton was going to do a fundraising concert. I think I've got this right. But people were freaking out over there because, of course, as a foreign national, you can't help the election of the President of the United States of America. It's not allowed. It's not in the rule. In much the same way as you can't become president if you are not American. Quite right, too. Which leaves Arnie out in the cold.
Yes.
I think it would be hilarious if Arnold Schwarzenegger had become president of the United States of America.
Comedy isn't something I look for, really, in a
world
political
leader. Right, okay. Actually, comedy is not something we look for in John Cleese anymore, really, is it? Let's be honest. I used to like his Sainsbury's ads when he used to shout at customers. I thought they were funny.
Weren't they, like, single-handedly responsible for destroying their profits?
I think so, yeah. Well, that's what they said. I mean, you've got to blame somebody, right? So they blamed him. But I used to find them funny. Got out a megaphone and started shouting at passers-by. It was nothing funny, in my opinion. But, I mean, if you were John Cleese, you wouldn't be trying too hard either, really, would you? I mean, you've earned your pass. He could not say another funny thing for the rest of his life. It doesn't make any difference. There's no doubting that he is, I was going to say, our greatest ever comedian. And then I thought, oh, no, wait a minute. Unsubstantiatable. You can't substantiate it. Is he our greatest ever comedian, John Cleese? Yes. No, you're shaking your head.
No.
Yes, I think the answer is yes. I think you'll find that the answer is yes. Longevity, he's all the way back in black and white. They did the Frost Report just a little while ago on the television. They brought back the Frost Report, and they had the ever delightful Ronnie Corbett, who even when he's saying things that aren't funny, they're funny. Just the way he draws words out at a bar, you'll say, and I'm laughing already.
The problem is he then went on to do things like the James Bond films.
Yes, that's right. However, if somebody... Now, it's very easy to, criticise people in show business. Hey, it's a living. But if somebody came to you and said, here's £3 million, we'll fly you first class and put you up in a 2-bedroom suite at a 6-star hotel, all you got to do is be on set for a week, and you'll be on set in a James Bond film, who among us would say no? No hands in the air. That's right. So he gets a pass. I don't care what he does from now on. He's, it doesn't make any difference really, does it? Croydon, hello, Dave.
Hello, yeah, no, John Cleese isn't the greatest comedian.
Go on.
It's Roy Chubby Brown. He's the greatest.
I think you're the greatest, Dave. What a sense of humour.
Thank you very much.
Right.
I believe you're not a cyclist, or you don't like cycling very much, do you?
I'm not a cyclist, and I've got nothing against it. I just don't want it. I don't want to do it.
No, but the trouble is, see, I used to do proper racing. I used to go out and do 80 miles on a Sunday in a race, and I used to cover about 300 miles a week training. So I was into it seriously. And you tend to find in this country, people don't understand and appreciate cycling, and they tend to put it down. So unless you're someone that's got your brain switched on where you can avoid all the negative comments that are made to you. If you can't do that, you're never going to make it, because you're going to be influenced by people around you. And if you've never been to a velodrome to watch cycling, then you won't understand the fascination that you get with cycling.
Well, I've seen it on TV, and it looks really dull, Dave.
Yeah, well, again, you probably don't understand the racing that's occurring and what they've got to do.
Cycle.
My wife is not a keen cyclist at all, and I took her to an event called the London 6 Days, and it was held in London in a velodrome, and there were 6 days of racing, 6 nights. It was 6 nights. And I took her to one night, and as I say, she's not into cycling in any way at all, but she was there. I explained what was happening, and she found it very fascinating. She thought it was brilliant, but since that day, she really hasn't got back into cycling.
Right.
But she thought it was fantastic.
Well, that's what she told you. Meanwhile, is what she said and her actions are rather diverse there, Dave. Fascinating and never want to do it again. Doesn't sit well in the same sentence.
No, she did, Nick, believe me.
So why were you cycling so much? What was the nature of your, what were you doing?
There was a chap in Belgium, you might have heard of him, called Eddie Merckx.
Yes.
And he is, if you like, my idol. No one else is my idol. It is Eddie Merckx, because everybody thinks of Lance Armstrong.
That's right.
On the Tour de France so many more times than everybody else. But he only concentrated on the Tour de France. Eddie Merckx won 50-odd races a year, major classics, major one-day classics, the Tour de France, the Tour of Italy, the Tour of Spain, all 3-week major tours.
Yeah, the thing with cycling, though, Dave, is that I think people think two things about professional cycling. First, they think everyone's hopped up on drugs.
Right. Yeah, that's a fair comment.
And the second is that those saddles are so thin. Doesn't it affect your, gentleman's area?
Yeah. Well, you see, I put on a lot of weight, and occasionally I'll still go out and I'll ride 30 miles, and it does. It's because of the weight you carry.
Yeah.
That
practically slices you in half, I bet.
Well, yeah, it can be painful. But, getting back to the drugs, what sport isn't there drugs in?
Well, that's true, yeah.
But...
snowboarding. There you go. There's no drugs in snowboarding.
Probably not. But I can always remember, this is a typical... this country, what they're like against cyclists. I remember I was trying to be riding a European professional cycling team.
Yeah.
And I was going out. If nothing else mattered, nothing else at all. All I wanted to do was ride the bike. Believe it or not, the highlight of my days as a cyclist was to come home, strip the bike down, re-grease it and put it back together. I was so into cycling.
And sit on a comfortable cushion, I bet.
Yeah. Well, then were the days that I could do it. But I was going through Kingston, it was getting a little bit dark, and I didn't have any lights on my bike, and I had about 15 minutes to go and before I got home. And this copper come up to me in his car, and he said, "Get off your bike." And I thought, how... He could see I was trying, he could see I was a proper cyclist, and all right, I should have had lights on my bike.
You're lucky you weren't tasered to the ground, Dave.
Sorry?
I said you're lucky to be alive with a brush with the law without lights on your bike.
Well, I'll leave you with this one thought, Nick.
Go on.
What do you think the record is to ride from Land's End to John O'Groats? That's nearly 1,000 miles.
Right.
How long do you think it takes on a bike?
24 hours a day?
Yeah. Well, they'll do it. They might have a 15-minute break because, to just clean themselves up a little bit of those for 10 minutes.
The blood can continue flowing around the body every now and again.
Yeah. What would you think?
Well, I would say 10 days, but then just the way that you asked the question, it seemed like it would be much less than that. So I'll say 5.
It's less than 2 days. It's 1 day, 21 hours.
Right, I was almost completely right.
You were. And if they, when they get to John O'Groats, if they think they'll go for the 1,000-mile record, which is about another 50 miles, if they feel up to it, they'll do that.
Right. But when they get to John O'Groats, my advice is stop.
I think, I think that's pretty good. Right. Yeah, I think that's wise advice.
Yeah, all right. Thanks very much, Dave.
All right, I hope I haven't bored you too much.
Well, tiny, itsy bits, but that's all right. It fits right in. Cheers, Dave.
Okay, cheers.
0845 6060 973. No, I have tremendous respect and appreciation for people who are obsessed with a sporting event like that, because those are the people that that turn on the TV and we'll watch them flogging their guts out for our entertainment on the Olympics. Actually, it's not for our entertainment at all, is it? They couldn't care less whether we like it or not. They're doing it for themselves. They're not even doing it for their country, of course. We like to pretend that that they are. That's absolutely not the case. They're doing it as individuals. Ain't that true? And we take their success, if they have it, for ourselves. It's like they're doing it for themselves, but if they succeed, then we claim them for us. If they fail, it's like, well, we never heard of them. Who are they? What sport's that? Never heard of it. But if, in some weird sport of... We'll only succeed in weird sports, it, shooting or I don't know, what chess, some nonsense they'll come up with at the Olympic Games, or it'll be beach volleyball or... Oh, I don't know. What stupid... Is there a list of Olympic events?
The research team leaps into action.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out as I talk to Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hello, Nick.
Steve.
That last caller failed to see the irony in that the policeman told him to get off his bike.
Get off his bike, yeah.
As opposed to the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, calling to talk about John Cleese. The last time I was in London, my friend and I, he's a comedian, and a cab driver got into that same argument with us, trying to tell us that John Cleese was the funniest British comedian of all time.
Yes.
I made the mistake of arguing that it was Peter Cook, or should I say I made the mistake of talking to him. But, you're never going to win that type of argument.
Well, no. But it doesn't make having it any less enjoyable.
Yes. I mean, I would say that, Cleese hasn't really done anything since Peter Cook's died, basically since A Fish Called Wanda.
Well, then you could also say that Peter Cook hasn't done anything since Peter Cook died. So they're even on that score.
That's a very good excuse.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that, yeah. No, John Cleese, every now and again, he'll show up in somebody else's sitcom, won't he? He did The Third Rock from the Sun. He did, wasn't he in Friends or Frasier or one of those?
I think he was at in the wedding one.
Right. And it's never good. It's almost never good when somebody guest stars in somebody else's sitcom. That's It's usually what they call a jumping the shark moment, when a series has gone so off the rails that they've. The analogy is when Fonzie jumped the shark in Happy Days. Everyone knew that Happy Days was over. Yeah. He actually jumped over a shark on his motorbike on Happy Days. And that was the end of that show.
Was it an actual shark, or was it something called the shark, like a roller coaster?
No, I believe it was a plastic shark, a real shark being unavailable.
Well, the one thing that was funny about Cleese's appearance on Third Rock, and that I actually remember it, was his character was called Liam Neeson.
Yes.
With an M.
Why was that? I mean, I remember it, but why? Because Liam Neeson.
Yeah, it was just the same name, but with one letter change.
Right. But he's got nothing to do with Liam Neeson.
Right, and sort of nothing was mentioned of it in the show either, which was sort of what made it funny.
Right. Kind of.
Yeah. It's memorable. It's the one thing I remember of that character.
Yeah. Well, you remembered it, that's for sure. Okay. Thanks, Steve.
All right. Nice talking.
Never have an open-ended argument with a British cab driver, by the way.
Exactly.
Because you're paying for it, remember. 0845 6060 973 845. LBC Travel with Alan Joyce.
Thanks, Nick. Looking at the...
Now, here's the list of all of the events that are going to be in Beijing. Athletics, rowing. Let's go through these and we'll decide whether they're actual sports or not. I have a bit of a problem with rowing. I don't think it's a sport. I think it's exercise. Can you think of anything else where your forward momentum is at your back? In other words, is there another sport that you can think of when you're actually going backwards, where you can't see where you're going?
When you sort of high jump at the precise moment of going over.
Well, that's a nonsense. You're running forwards until that point. There isn't anything else in the world where you're going backwards by going forwards. And that you can't see where you're going does render the entire thing... Well, it's not a sport anymore, is it? If you can't see your destination, if you cannot see your goal, crucially, it's not a sport, it's exercise. So I think I'm going to have to take rowing out. It's a silly sport. Badminton, well, that's got to go too. That's not... that's a pastime. Baseball. Baseball is an Olympic sport. The only sport, the only organised sport that is actually more boring than cricket, baseball. And then they got basketball and boxing. Well, boxing is right because crucially, isn't the Olympics all about survival sports? It's all about gladiatorial combat, about surviving in battle. It's all, chucking spears and stones and running and jumping and leaping and hitting and fighting and, wrestling and all that sort of thing. That's the essence of the Olympics, isn't it? Gladiatorial combat. Am I right? Hello?
As always.
So, boxing, yes, absolutely. And then they've got canoeing and kayaking. Well, see, there you are. Canoeing. It's the same as rowing, except you're going forwards. Isn't it? That makes more sense. And then there's cycling, all different types, track, road, mountain bike and BMX. Oh, come off it. BMX. Well, that's the concrete equivalent of snowboarding, isn't it? I want each and every one of those BMX bikers tested. Groovy. They'll come out as positively as the snowboarders, I betcha. Then horse racing, jumping, dressage and eventing, where I'd have to say that the horse is doing all the work, really. You're just a passenger. You might as well have hailing a cab as an Olympic sport. Fencing, yes, that has to be in there because, you see, that's a survival skill. Do you know what I mean? Are you with me now? Football. Well, the thing about football is that, essentially, it's hunting behaviour, isn't it? It's instead of going out and killing a wildebeest, your tribe versus the other tribe, you're both aiming to, get a kill. You're out there in your silly nylon shorts, booting a ball about and falling to the ground and, in apoplexy, clutching your ankle and screaming, and then bouncing to your feet as soon as the ref's not looking your way. So I think football, yes, because it's tribal. Victoria looks confused.
Well, firstly, surely you wouldn't kick the wildebeest into somebody else's net. I mean, that's not what you do with your dinner. And also, football, surely it has enough tournaments already. We have World Cups, we have Euro Cups.
Yes.
You can tell I'm not a footballing person.
No, you're absolutely right.
Should it be in the Olympics?
No, it shouldn't, because who's going to be playing football? For us, who would be playing football for us? I mean, presumably there'd be people that we haven't heard of, because you can't be a professional, right? Well, that's a nonsense as well, because I bet every single person in the Olympics is a professional. That's what they do for a living, isn't it? I mean, there are no part-timers anymore, are there? Nobody does it nobody trains to be a swimmer in their lunch break, do they? They get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and they do swimming all day long. And then all night they're moisturising their skin. Can you imagine how dry they must be? So football, yeah, you're right. Football should go. But I think that it deserves to be in there just because it's like hunting behaviour. Tribal hunting behaviour. It is, Victoria. Artistic gymnastics. Oh, do me a favour. Not artistic gymnastics, but actual gymnastics, yes. Because can you think of anything else that uses all of the body's muscles than, more so than gymnastics? Essentially, you're acting like a monkey. Throwing yourself around bars and, acting like a monkey. Which is the perfect embodiment of everything that is possible to be physically as a human being. Well, you've got your eyebrows raised. That's not so crazy, you're thinking. Hey, maybe he's got something there. So I think that gymnastics it's the epitome of what we're physically capable of. Gymnastics, I think. Hello?
Yeah. You're right. As always.
Weightlifting. No. You stick up for any of these if you feel that I'm going wrong here, but weightlifting that's not a sport.
I'm not clear on what the criteria are that we're trying to apply here.
I think, first of all, we have to eliminate things that aren't sport. So, rowing.
Define sport.
Well,
we have to go back to first principles now.
Okay, sport is... let me tell you what it isn't. A pastime, or rather, let me tell you what... hang on a minute. I'll get it in a second. If you can compete at the highest level while being fat, it's not a sport, it's a pastime. That's darts, motor racing, there's no end of things. Cricket, that's not a sport. Playing midfield for Chelsea, not a sport. Right, artistic gymnastics is out because that's just silly. I mean, come on. Handball, I don't even know what that is. What's handball? Hockey. Hockey can be there because it's hunting behaviour just as much as it's as football is. Judo, yes, that's fighting. Wrestling, absolutely. Swimming, I suppose it's survival behaviour, so that can stay. Modern pentathlon. Now, you see, here we are. The Olympics should be all about the pentathlon and the decathlon. But they don't seem to do a decathlon anymore. That would be under D, right? The modern pentathlon. Decathlon is not in it. They don't do that anymore. I had no idea. Softball. What is softball? What is that? Is that baseball?
Isn't that the Ponzi name for rounders?
Oh, isn't softball baseball with a bigger ball? Like you want a bigger hard ball flying at your face. Taekwondo, yes, that's fighting. Keep that. Tennis? No. Tennis. Tennis? Who's going to be playing tennis at the Olympics? Presumably it'll be, all the people that we've heard of.
Once again, I think some of these sports, if they have too many of their own tournaments,
they shouldn't
they shouldn't have
Yeah, you're right. Table tennis. Don't be silly. Shooting, yes. Shooting must stay because that's, that's killing behaviour. The Olympics is all about killing. It's the Olympic ideal. Archery, yes. Triathlon, absolutely. Sailing, no. Don't be silly. Ted Heath was a sailor. Did he look like an athlete to you? He was a very successful, like I said, at the highest level. Volleyball. Ted Heath looked like he'd eaten a volleyball. I don't even know what volleyball is. What is it? Oh, it's like the thing they play on the beach.
Yeah.
Well, you might as well say drinking beer and smoking dope is an Olympic sport. They do that on the beach too. And then beach volleyball itself. So there you are. There's about 5 things that should actually be Olympic sports and nothing else. And I hope that's cleared things up for you.
So I need to get on the phone to the Olympics people and inform them of all these updates.
Straight away. Well, of course, if they're not actually listening, then they could catch the show on a podcast. You should send them a podcast, perhaps, or a link. What would the link be? It'd be www.lbc.co.uk/LBC+.
Orky/Docky.
I forgot what it was there for a minute. Here is South Norwood. Oh, Tony.
Oh, hi there.
Tony.
How you doing?
Good.
I was just thinking, when you were talking about backward sports, I immediately thought of tug of war. because you've got to go backwards to win that one.
That's right, yeah.
And if you're really bad at boxing, you're probably going to spend a lot of time going backwards as well.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah. But your target is forwards. But tug-of-war is you're right, that's backwards too. But tug-of-war is only played when you're drunk, right?
Yeah, so perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Perhaps they could get the crowd to do it outside the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah, or outside the bar at the Olympic Stadium, yeah. This is LBC 97.3. We are approaching 9 o'clock.
Whether you want a professional...
Oh, you know the Olympic sport that will be introduced for the London Games? Having a fag. They're going to build a venue especially for it, but of course everyone's going to have to go outside while they do it. But nobody from no woman will be competing in on behalf of this country in forthcoming Olympic Games because girls don't do exercise at school, according to a recent report. And do you know why? I'll give you 2 guesses. I might give you 3.
They don't like the kit.
And
have I ruined it?
I'm shocked. Yes, you have. You must have read this story already.
I honestly haven't, I guessed.
Girls are failing to do enough exercise at school because they see physical education as uncool. According to teachers, increasing numbers of teenage girls are being turned off games as lessons are not tailored to their needs and gym kits are unfashionable. Good grief. Oh, lovely cup of tea. Thank you. It looks like you've stewed socks in it. I could stand my spoon up in that.
Don't be ungrateful.
Thanks, Victoria. Clarissa Williams, the head of Tolworth Girls' School in Surrey, said there was resistance on the part of young women to participate in PE. She said, "It's been part of the traditional culture that boys tend to have been more keen on physical activity. By the time they get to year 9, girls are sitting down and being much more sedate." Kelly Holmes, the Olympic gold medal winner, suggested that teenage girls should be allowed to wear fashionable black and pink hoodies and tracksuit bottoms instead of pleated skirts, shorts or white T-shirts to give them more confidence in the gym. Have you ever heard such rubbish in all your life? Whatever happened to just do it? Get changed and get out there. Give me 20.
I see loads of kids wearing sports kit anyway, so it can't be that bad.
Well, yeah, but presumably they're saying that the sports kit that they get at school, their specific school uniform kit, makes them look inelegant or uncool.
Can I speak from experience, having gone to an all-girls school?
Yes.
The majority of us not liking PE.
No. Well, neither did I. I mean, I speak of someone who skived. And if my parents are listening to this, just kidding. Didn't skive at all. Showed up for all of my lessons. No, I skived PE and went around to the cafe around the corner and played David Bowie on the jukebox with the lads. Yeah.
Well, our problem was we weren't remotely competitive. I think boys, even the ones... I mean, obviously there are some, like yourself, who don't really care and will skip PE anyway.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of ones who sort of get egged on and go, oh, yeah, I'm not a wimp, I'll do it. Whereas the girls are like, we don't care.
Now, hang on a minute. I'm going to have to take issue with you there. Girls aren't competitive.
Not in the physical PE sense. They are in, you know, trying to get boys or trying to look good or try and be good in the office or things like that. But there's a few, obviously. People like, you know, Dame Kelly Holmes is clearly competitive. But most girls, especially in our PE class, just couldn't be bothered.
Right. I suppose there is something to that, isn't it? Boys are physically competitive because they want to be the strongest, the biggest, the toughest, most popular, blah, blah, blah.
It's the same when we played hockey. We just, you know, if the other team won, we're like, woohoo! You know, we don't care.
Huh. Well, that's not the Olympics ideal. You're not personifying the great sporting movement at all, are you? Not excuse me. Not caring. You see what you've done to me?
What did you put in that tea?
I don't know. Nuts, I think.
Are you allergic?
I'll find out. Yes, but I thought that was just ridiculous. They're refusing to take part in sports because they don't like the kit. Don't like it. And the teachers are saying, oh, well, if you don't like it, then please carry on. Just do whatever you like. The whole world's gone crazy. This is why David Cameron weighed in, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, with this, now, wait a minute, please. Not hoodies, not medieval hoodies. I still have to get to that. You will remind me, won't you?
And not kidding about medieval hoodies.
No, and not baboons going crazy. I still haven't got to that one. You will remind me about that as well, won't
Baboons going crazy. I'll write it down.
No, it was David Cameron versus children everywhere. I must have that. Soaring price of food, police versus minor offences, school exclusions. School exclusions, sort of related topic, not quite. MP's expenses, family breakdown, children given dangerous medicines. That is a shocker, by the way. From a government that's insisting that you can't have cannabis or anything that goes along with that because it's dangerous for you. They're actually giving away legal medicine, but by prescription, that's causing people to kill themselves. So no danger there, then. But at least the big chemical multinationals making a ton of money from it. They don't care about that. Isn't that shocking? She's got giggles again. Turn your microphone up.
It's about this time of the evening.
You're like a cat that's just got fed. You got that crazy look in your eyes, Victoria. I just had to mention children dying and she was off. Hysterical.
Shall I just leave her mic up until she stops?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, here we go. Let teachers be physical. Let's get physical. Teachers will be encouraged to restrain disruptive pupils physically under plans unveiled by David Cameron yesterday. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, he can say anything he likes, comfortable in the knowledge that we'll all forget by the time, if at some point in the future he wins a general election. I mean, if as an actual Prime Minister at the time you can say things, you can say, oh yes it is, while privately admitting, oh no it isn't, then in opposition you can get to say anything you like. And this is what he's saying now. The Conservative leader said that in an attempt to improve behaviour in the classroom, he would change the law to allow teachers to intervene physically to search pupils or stop them leaving the classroom. Mr. Cameron said that he would advocate grabbing pupils who were misbehaving, although he stressed that he didn't wish that corporal punishment returns to British schools. Thank you, sir. May I have another? The proposal forms a part of a detailed plan drawn up by the Conservatives to restore classroom discipline, which the party says is crucial in improving standards. Hey, they've actually got a policy. We've been waiting for ages. They've actually come out with one now. Isn't that great? Because in opposition, really, you don't really want to say much of anything at all. You just want to, act like, call me Dave. You want to be chummy and friendly and, go on the chat shows in the middle of the daytime and make a positive impression. And people think, oh, well, he's a nice bloke. He hasn't said anything that I disapprove of. It's sort of like, it's sort of the way that the music industry now releases records. They don't want to release anything that's, the big labels. They don't want to release anything that's very challenging or anything like that. Don't give people the opportunity to tune out. It's kind of the absence of a negative rather than the presence of a positive. And this is kind of what politics has become. This is why Tony Blair was so very successful, is because he wasn't in politics, he was in show business. Every time you lean forward, it looks like you're going to say something.
This chair is a little bit rocky, so I only have to move an inch, so I just go flying.
The proposal forms part of a detailed plan drawn up by Conservatives to restore discipline to the classroom. Mr. Cameron said it's about giving schools the power to control discipline, to bring order to the classroom, and giving them independence to do that as a strong, independent institution. He insisted that proposals would help put the teacher back in charge of the classroom, and that it was acceptable for teachers to feel that they could sometimes be physical with pupils. She's still laughing. You're going to get me started now. This is crazy. I mean, times have moved on from this now. There's no chance that you could actually give somebody the vague idea that you could be physical with pupils now. I'm running out of time. I'm bang up against the travel. I'll come back to this in a minute. If you have any thoughts, by the way, it's 0845 6060 973. Not necessarily about that, but about, anything I've talked about so far or whatever's on your mind. 0845 6060 973. There's just time for me to mention this. The How Low auction that we have going at the moment is for a 32-inch Samsung LCD TV. It's one of these things that's got digital TV already built in it. You won't need a set-top box. It's HD ready. It looks fantastic. Nail one of these to the wall. You'll never want to leave the flat again. To enter this reverse auction, in which the person with the lowest unique bid wins, text LBC plus your bid in pence to 88821. If it was a bid of 68p, it would be LBC 68 to 88821. Bids cost £1.50 plus your standard network rate. Lines close 7pm Wednesday, 9th April. Bidders must be over 16. See lbc.co.uk for full terms and conditions. It's 9:15. LBC Travel with Alan Joyce.
Thanks, Nick. Just had a call in from...
Absolutely. 0845 6060 973. So this is about restraining the pupils in the classroom. And this is Dave's new plan, which doesn't seem to make any sense at all to me. I mean, did anybody read this and think, what's he talking about? This is never going to work. It's trying to shut the door after the horse has bolted. He's saying that you'll be able to grab pupils, but you know what'll happen if they do. I mean, either it will result in them going home and telling Dad, or come round to discuss things with a machete in his hand, or he'll go home and discuss things with his free lawyer. You know, his no win, no fee lawyer. Or he'll, more accurately, he'll get legal... What's it called?
Aid.
Legal aid, yeah. A very small word. You think I'd have been able to drag that one out. Legal aid is the correct answer. So we'll have to pay for it. Dave insisted that the proposals would help put the teacher back in charge of the classroom, and that it was acceptable for teachers to feel that they could sometimes be physical with pupils. There can't be a teacher listening to this, or not, that thinks that could be workable. Not now. Like it used to be. Oh, you used to get whacked over the head with a wooden ruler in chemistry when you weren't paying attention, which was all the time. I mean, chemistry. Talk about dull. We used to get, belted, of course, but that was the sort of, the organised punishment. But there was a whole lot of things that could be done to you before we got to the belting phase. That may have been that may have actually been more painful and physically damaging than the belt itself. We used to get roughed up all the time. We did. They used to chuck giant blocks of wood at us if we weren't paying attention. Well, those dusters. I've talked about that before. You know, the dusters that they clean the chalkboards off. There's like a half brick of wood. They used to throw them at our heads if we weren't paying attention. It were grand when I were a lad. He said, did Dave, you've got to be able, sometimes, if a child is tearing down a corridor, to put out your hand and grab them. We've got into a situation when we're treating children like adults, and treating adults like children. I think we do need a restoration of common sense. Well, you're absolutely right about that. According to the Conservatives, teachers complain regularly that they cannot enforce detentions and other punishments because children simply leave the room. We'd have been petrified to do that. A recent study from Manchester University found that more than half of schools have introduced no-touch policies amid fears that teachers will be subject to legal action, accusing them of assaulting pupils if they intervene. Mr Cameron and Michael Gove, his shadow education secretary, want to scrap the right of parents to appeal independently if their children are excluded. There's more than 140,000 pupils suspended each year from secondary schools for persistent disruption. 140,000! Yeah. It's not going to work, is it? Because they'll just sue them into a black hole in space. The entire education establishment will just cease to exist. I mean, you think we can't afford books now. You wait till the various assorted parents get legal aid and come and sue the teacher because they grabbed, I don't know, what's a really chavvy name for a boy?
There's no way to answer that without offending someone.
Oh, go ahead.
I was thinking of boys called Courtney. They do exist.
Courtney?
Connor.
Yeah.
Connor? They don't sound like chavvy names. Courtney does a bit. Connor sounds quite middle class. Connor.
Maybe it's because of a few chavvy boys at my school.
Right. Okay. Dave. There you go.
That's not chavvy.
Well, it covers a multitude of sins. I think it's about the most popular first name in history.
Yeah, but David sounds nice.
Dave, yeah. But David could be the leader of the opposition, or it could be the bloke that nicks your sat-nav. Or one in the same person, actually. Where was David Cameron, by the way, when my sat-nav got nicked? I rest my case. Hey, yesterday we were talking about the weather. Do you remember? And we looked up the weather forecast for the next 5 days from the Meteorological Office. What did it say?
Sun, cloud and rain every day.
Sun, cloud and rain every day. And do you know what it says today? Just sun. No cloud, no rain, every day. So in the space of less than 24 hours, they changed their entire outlook for the week, for every day. These are the people who are telling us what the weather will be like in 10, 20, 50 years' time if we don't mend our wicked ways. They don't know what they're talking about. They've got no clue as to... I mean, they don't know what's going to be like today, do they? It's as though they don't possess windows. They'll tell you it's raining, and it's actually boiling hot sun outside. They haven't got a clue. I think they just make it up.
In hindsight, putting the Met Office in a basement was probably a mistake.
Now the weather over the next few days is something like this. Showers will replace snow this week, but forecasters have warned that temperatures will continue to plunge at night. It's going to be very cold tonight, isn't it? It's like down to minus something or other, isn't it?
It's colder now.
Last weekend's cold snap, rather, is set to continue with lows of -5. That's centigrade. That's 23 Fahrenheit across the country tonight and tomorrow night. I don't know about you, but I can't... I switch winter-summer. Because 23 Fahrenheit, that sounds quite pleasant. But it isn't. It's -5 centigrade. Now, you can tell that -5, that sounds cold, doesn't it? Because it's got a minus in front of it. But come summertime, 20 Celsius doesn't sound very warm at all. But 75 or 80 or whatever it is, double it and add 32, so 40, 75. That sounds warm. I know what 75 is. 20 Celsius. I've got no idea what that is. I don't know whether to get my budgie smugglers on or get my hat, coat, scarf and gloves. I don't own budgie smugglers, by the way. What are budgie smugglers, you ask? I'll send you a
really stupid question.
Yeah, I'll send you a picture in the post. The Met Office spokesman said that there would be no snow from this point on. So, get salting the roads now.
Be no snow ever again.
Yeah, that's right. Conditions will be bright but cold across the country for the rest of the week, with temperatures creeping up about a degree a day until we're back to normal by Friday. By then, April showers will be in full force and we could see thunderstorms hitting anywhere in the country. Large swathes of Britain were yesterday still blighted by blizzards, with parts of Northumberland and County Durham hit by 6 centimetres of snow.
We're looking at 10 inches.
Not even close. You can still see the grass through the snow, and the entire country grinds to a halt. Flights cancelled out of Heathrow. The entirety of Russia guffawing. Like we're some sort of comical third world backward country. A light dusting of snow. I mean, come on, people. I mean, even rain stalls traffic to a complete halt in this country, doesn't it? A light gust of wind and the economy grinds to a halt. It's daft. And you know whose fault it is? That's right. Let's lay the blame where it deserves to be laid. So I've done world food shortages and the riots that are predicated on it, in it, the weather. Getting physical at school. David Cameron's plan to restore discipline to the classroom. Uncool gym kits and why girls don't do sport, which is one of the reasons why we won't win anything, because what can we actually do at the Olympics? We can't swim, we can't run, we can't jump. What can we do? Actually, what can we do? What did we win last time?
Didn't we do lacrosse last time? Not lacrosse, the thing with the brushes. Curling. Close.
Cleaning, you mean?
Curling.
Well, it looked like cleaning to me. Yes, we're fantastic at cleaning. Show us a bit of ice, and by the time we've finished with it, you'll be able to see your face in it. Curling. I rest my case. That's not a sport. It's not even a pastime. What is it? That's the silliest thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, at least with bowling, it's warm. And it's slow. And there's no chance that you're going to slip and fall on your aged, geriatric, bony bottom. Is there? Curling. Really, it's nonsense. And the Olympics and many other various things. I hope that you've been taking notes in there.
I have copious notes. I'm very interested in this thing about baboons.
Baboons? Well, you know what? We might just have time to do that before the new news. This is in Saudi Arabia, so don't be alarmed. We're sitting up straight now. This is the most interested you've been in this show so far. Baboons have gone crazy in towns in southern Saudi Arabia, which are under siege from attacks by drought-plagued baboons with a reported taste for pomegranate. Now, Victoria's off again. Have you ever seen a baboon up close? Well, for a start, they smell really bad. And they have teeth that are as long as that. I'm not exaggerating. Huge. You wouldn't want to get into a fight with a baboon because you wouldn't know what they'd do. The little baboon wife would be holding its nits, saying, "No, don't do it. It ain't worth it." But the baboon would be off there, crazy. Newspapers reported yesterday that mass invasions by up to 100 primates were ransacking towns across the regions of some place I can't pronounce. Officials at the National Wildlife Protection Agency have blamed a severe drought, which has killed vegetation in the baboons' natural mountain habitats. Imagine that. 100 baboons steaming through a place. I saw that on a tube once. That is shocking, isn't it? And occasionally you do think, what if nature does bite back? Because pigeons are relatively benign, aren't they? I mean, you drop something, they'll walk in afterwards and, clear up and then, leave the residue in an unpleasant place. But what if they decided, forget this waiting around, let's just take it? As seagulls, in fact, do. Seagulls will nick the sandwich right out of your hand. And I think that it can't be too long. I mean, if people are rioting over the high price of foods, then presumably we will be taking all of the foods that animals currently enjoy for themselves. So they're going to be more aggressive about getting the foods from us because there'll be less of it to go around for them. And so just the sense of survival will kick in, and they will have to start fighting us for the scarce food resources, or the scarce reserves of whatever food stuff we've got. So we won't just be fighting in amongst ourselves. We'll be fighting off, foxes and cats and dogs and birds of all stripe and, the rest of it. It's going to be a melee. Several people have been treated after attacks. Classes were suspended at some college for girls. I didn't think they had colleges for girls in Saudi Arabia. I thought that was forbidden. Anyway, after baboons rampaged through the building last week, one victim of the attack said that baboons launched a frenzy of violence in their attempts to seize fruit and water. The red juice-laden pomegranate was a particular favourite of the primates, he said. That does actually sound petrifying, because they're quite a stern foe. I'm on about 3 pomegranate raids a day now, man. But I can handle it. I'm just feeling a little unevolved at the moment, that's all. LBC.
No one is ever safe on this hostile planet.
He's right. Forest Hill. Hello, Jill.
Hello.
Jill.
I've got the giggles now.
Well, you've got to have a laugh, ain't ya?
It's really infectious. But, this thing about the food shortages, well, actually, those were sort of predicted years ago.
Really?
You know, water and food shortages, but the overpopulation. But I've got the answer. All you need to do is let all the baboons, they're omnivorous, aren't they, these apes?
I really don't know.
Yeah, they are. They're like us. They eat meat and vegetables. They eat everything. So all you need to do is let them go at all the really fat people that ate all the food in the first place. Sorted.
Right.
And then secondly, bring them over here and they can deal with the yobs as well.
Yeah, we could turn them into teachers.
Absolutely. Sorted. There you go.
You're not so crazy after all, Jill.
The answer's in front of us all the time.
I know. If only we'd...
Nature, don't you love it?
No. After what it's done to me, no.
What's it done to you?
Oh, let me give you a list, Jill, of my current melodies. Where do I even start?
Your melodies?
Yeah.
They're musical.
That's right, I'll sing it. Yeah. It'll make it'll make the medicine go down more easily. Yeah.
No, but I think, let's have the apes in the schools because, then there'll be an understanding between the flipping apes we've got being taught.
Right. OK, I'll pass that suggestion along. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you.
0845 6060 973. The closest I've come to apes was when I was in South Africa. And if you drive down to Cape Point, is that the tip of South Africa? I think so. Anyway, it's as far as you can go without getting wet. You park your car there, and there's apes just sort of lolling about the place, looking mischievous. And big signs say, don't feed the apes. Keep hold of your children, that sort of thing. And I came back, and they're large, they're really quite big, and you just wouldn't want to get into a fight with them because they wouldn't hold back, they'd bite your face off. You'd be pulling your punches, and they'd be ripping your throat out. There's no holding them, especially when they've had a few. And I came back, and one of them had obviously been relaxing on the top of someone's car. They'd left a present. It was, honestly, it was about the size of an igloo. It was huge. How are you going to get that off? Oh, no, she's off again. I'll leave you with that image. It was the baboon's revenge. But Jill was right about the water, because this is something you forget about. The potential short supply of water is also going to lead to water wars. Now, oil wars is one thing. Food wars is another. But water wars, when you actually are fighting neighbouring countries for access to water, well, that's when it really does. That's the start of actual wars, isn't it? And they're having this problem in Spain right now. You don't even have to go very far to see a country that is desperate. I was talking to a friend of mine who's in Spain right now, and he said that they're about to turn the taps off. I mean, it's actually getting that serious. I'll come to that in a second. Spain is suffering its worst drought in more than 4 decades. And it doesn't rain that much in Spain anyway, does it, really? I mean, a normal year in Spain is what we'd call a drought anyway.
Isn't the rain in Spain often on the plain?
I'd hoped that somebody wasn't going to say that. It turned out that you did.
I thought it and stopped myself.
Well, we all did, yeah. Spain is suffering its worst drought in more than 4 decades, pitting the country's regions against each other in a fierce battle over water resources. Now, of course, Spain's regions, they hate each other anyway, don't they? With a vengeance. So this isn't going to help. There's been 40% less rain than usual since October across the nation as a whole, according to the such a hard word. You get halfway through it and you think, oh no, that's not right. I'll go back and start again. Meteorology Institute. Meteorology Institute. You know the Meteorology Institute? Oh yeah, they're very good. The Meteorology Institute. Although in some regions the impact has been far worse. Mediterranean regions such as Catalonia and Valencia. Valencia's very nice, actually. Everybody should go to Valencia. It's a delight. They have this, who cares? They've been the worst affected. They've had less rain than at any time since 1912. Good grief. Now, Valencia is bone dry. You know, these places in Spain, they hardly see any rain at all. So to have had less rain so that at any time since 1912, that means no rain at all. Farmers in Catalonia fear that they could lose their crops altogether if it doesn't rain in the coming weeks. And Britons with homes on the coast could soon face restrictions on water. The situation in Barcelona, which is where I was talking to this friend, Catalonia's capital and top tourist draw, could soon become critical. Water reserves there are at 19% of capacity, 19%. They must be shut down when they reach 15% because there's too much sediment near the bottom. Now, I don't know if you've been to Barcelona, but Barcelona smells on the best of days. If they shut down the water, can you imagine the stink that will come from the drains? Oh! It'll be unbearable. Catalonia has tried to salvage matters by proposing to divert water from the River Segre. I don't know if that's the way you pronounce it, but that's what it looks like to me. This river to Barcelona. But Aragon, with which it shares the tributary, has steadfastly resisted the plan. Catalonia accuses its neighbour of hoarding water for unsustainable developments such as the European Las Vegas, with 70 hotels, 5 theme parks and several golf courses planned for a desert region. That's insane. Well, as much as Las Vegas is insane. It's a desert out there. So, can you imagine this? That Barcelona wants water. The only way that it can get it, I mean, it's at almost crisis point. They don't have any left. The only way they can get it is to ask its neighbouring, what do they call these? Region. Region? Is there a Spanish word for these? Well, region will do. To ask its neighbouring region, please, sir, can we have some water? And they'll say, oh, no. What, to drink? No. We've got some golf courses to irrigate. Amazing. And in much the same way as most of the water in America gets wasted on making green front gardens in areas where rain doesn't fall. You know, California, Arizona. It's all green and lush, but not by dint of nature, but because people have got sprinklers all over the place. The same here. I mean, hosepipe bans. People are out there night and day watering their roses and keeping their gardens lush and green. And you can remember a couple of years ago the massed fury all round when gardens went brown and people were secretly watering at night. And indeed, wasn't it a member of Parliament said, I think it was a Labour supporter, I can't remember who it was, some millionaire Labour supporter who was wasting tens of thousands of gallons on his garden. And he said, oh, no, it's perfectly all right, I'm taking it from the ground water. What do they call that? The
water table?
Yeah, the water table. He said, no, don't worry, it's perfectly all right, I'm taking it from the water table. And I thought, well, we all take it from the water table, you dope. Anyway, Catalonia is now considering other options, including importing... Get this. It's so desperate they're going to import fresh water by boat from Marseille and bring it by train. Well, that's really serious, isn't it? They're going to bring it in by train because their neighbouring region in Spain won't let them have any water. That's actual other Spanish... It's not like they're fighting France for it. They're fighting their own. So things are, like the whole world's gone crazy. Not quite. Not yet. It will, though. I mean, if this situation continues, as well it might, no one has any idea, including the Meteorological Office, if it just stopped raining, then we would be at war with our nearest neighbours. Well, not us particularly, because we're surrounded by this stuff. We'd just have to build salination plants. But you can imagine what Luxembourg would do. They'd be screwed, wouldn't they? They have no chance. Fortunately, they've got everyone's money, so they'll be able to buy their way out of the problem. Climate scientists give warning that Spain will be one of the countries worst affected by global warming. The strain on water resources is all the greater because most development is taking place along its parched, sun-baked coasts. Environmentalists also claim that at least 20% of water in Spain is lost through leaking pipes. What's the percentage here? It's got to be way more than that. So we're going to be fighting over pasta and over rice, and I don't think there's a potato shortage, is there?
No, it's still got crisps.
So crisps will still be available. And have you noticed, by the way, that when you go to the supermarket, there's only one product that's got 2 aisles all to itself? Crisps. What a shocking indictment of modern Britain, isn't it?
They come in all different shapes and flavours.
Not even cat food has got 2 aisles all to itself. Just the one aisle. Crisps, 2 aisles. And shapes and flavours, that's right. They've got 1 aisle of crisps and 1 aisle of crisp-based products that look like crisps and are crisps, but they're called something else.
Do fancy some crisps now, though.
Well, yeah, I know. The more you say it, the more you want some. Yeah.
All this talk of drought has made me very thirsty.
I know. A pint of lager and a packet of crisps, please. Yes. It's a little bit early. Shall I test him?
He's normally pretty good. Let's try it.
Rightio, then. It's 9:43. LBC Travel with Alan Joyce.
I hope I passed the test.
Hello.
The number here, 0845 6060 973. You don't have to talk about anything that I've been nattering on about. You know, just whatever occurs to you. That's fine. We don't discriminate, do we? Well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, we do. But just, you know, try us. We might like it. This is also about the soaring price of food. This was another article on a different day by the political correspondent at The Telegraph. Rising food prices threaten economic stability and could trigger riots. Gordon Brown has been warned. That's not riots, you know, far away in some distant land that nobody cares about and you couldn't pinpoint on a map. That's right here. People will be fighting in the aisles over the last Jaffa cake. The World Bank said this week that the price of staple foods has risen by... Guess how much in the last 3 years? I mean, what's the rate of inflation? Well, it's about sort of 10%, something like that.
Officially?
Officially, it's 3%. 2%, 2.5%, 3%. Aren't we doing well? Please vote for us. We're the prudent party. But in real terms, it's much higher than that. Their stated inflation statistic is a tiny fraction of what people are actually experiencing at the shops and the pumps. Or when they're shopping for pumps. When was the last time that anybody actually shopped for pumps? When was the last time that anybody said pumps out loud?
When you were building a water feature, perhaps?
No, not those sort of pumps. Pumps that you put on your feet.
Oh, sorry.
Pumps. You know, pumps. We used to have pumps and they were... Oh, God, she's off again. We used to have pumps and they were made of canvas with a bit of rubber on the bottom. And they used to cost, I can't remember, so I'll make it up, threepence halfpenny. Can you believe that? And, what?
I thought they were called plimsolls.
Plimsolls or pumps, yeah. And they cost, to manufacture, in real money, in today's money, about 50 pence. And they sold, in today's money, for about a £5. And they lasted about a year. Nowadays, of course, we have trainers with all high-tech gizmos and bubbles and springs and flashes of colour on them that cost, in real terms, 50 pence to make. Retail, £150. And you know why they can get away with that? Because they're made in China. That's right. All of those people who were complaining about the torch, I betcha, were running up to it on shoes made in China. That's why they had a bouncy spring in their step. It's true. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Pumps. I want you to write down pumps as a topic that we've talked about today. The World Bank has said this week that the price of staple foods has risen by 80% in the last 3 years. 80%! Staple foods, not, champagne and caviar. The stuff that people fill their stomach with every day. 80%. For consumers in wealthy nations such as Britain, soaring prices are squeezing household finances and keeping inflation up. But for developing nations, they can lead to malnutrition and social disruption. Well, if staple foods have gone up by 80%, I'm amazed that anybody can afford to eat there anymore in the third world. Food prices are being driven up by shortages of supply, often caused by bad weather, and by rising demand. Of course, that is the big problem in the world, isn't it? Because there's just too many of us. Too many people are having too many bye-byes. And too many people who say bye-byes are having too many babies. Mr. Brown chaired the Progressive Governance Summit. That's the thing that he showed up with a great blob of makeup on his face. Too funny. Part of his forehead looked like a real human being. The rest of it looked like a dead human being. No offence. But to leave only half made up when you're going to be photographed, out, that was a mistake. But perhaps it was revenge of the makeup artist. No, we don't know that that's true or not. But it is suggested that he's less than pleasant with his, when he's being pampered. Tony Blair, on the other hand, apparently used to purr like a cat when people were attending to his face, which is why he always looked, glowing and super fantastic. Gordon, on the other hand, not so much. Mr. Brown chaired the Progressive Governance Summit with a giant orange blob on his face in Watford at the weekend. Watford?
There's no more progressive a place.
Watford? What do they want to go there for? They had people from all over the world come here with their retinues trailing behind them, rubbing their hands in glee. Oh, we're going to London land, they thought. There'll be the changing of the guards and all that folderol. Well, it'll be exotique, and the standards of service are second to none. Where are we going again, they asked? Watford. A sharp intake of breath all round.
So Slough was booked then?
Yes. What do you want to go to Watford for? Anyway, this was at the weekend. Oh, Watford at the weekend. There's no place I'd rather be, honestly. They had a string of warnings about the rising price of food. But they weren't listening because their brains were screaming at them that they're in Watford at the weekend. They got back to their little rooms and they called home and they said, honestly, dear, I'm not enjoying it. And this time, their wives believed them. Antonio Guterres, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, told the summit that the cost of food is leading to riots. He said the biggest problem today is rising food prices in democratic countries everywhere. This can trigger civil unrest. You're not wrong, mate. The summit drew together some of the world's most important left-of-centre politicians, including former US President Bill Clinton. I bet Bill Clinton didn't stay in Watford, did he? I bet he hightailed it out of there in a giant limo convoy as soon as the last speech was read. Watford. Watford? Why on earth possess him to go to Watford? I mean, no offence to Watford, but it's hideous. Or isn't it?
No, it is.
Is it? I don't think I've ever been to Watford. Just the sound of it. A Watford Gap, that's probably all I know about Watford. Do they still have a Gap in Watford?
I'm sure that's a different place.
Watford Gap?
Yeah.
It's a service station, isn't it?
Yeah, Watford Gap's going up north,
yeah.
And isn't Watford over to the west?
I have absolutely no idea.
Different places.
We're so well travelled.
Yeah.
I've been round Watford on the M25.
Right.
I'm sure. I just have all these visions of all these international envoys being in some kind of motel.
Yeah.
In the conference rooms.
Yeah. On the phone, desperate to their PAs, get me out of here! Many at the meeting blamed the price hikes on the US and the European Union moves to use, here it comes again, you see, ridiculous, biofuels. Many at the meeting blamed the price hikes on American and European Union moves to use biofuels such as ethanol to curb greenhouse gas emissions. Or, as Toya used to say, greenhouse gases. Ethanol, she also probably said ethanol as well. Ethanol is an alternative to petrol made using corn. and its increasing use has pushed up maize prices. You see the insanity of this? They're trying to save the planet. Will you stop laughing, Victoria? They're trying to save the planet by growing biofuels for ethanol, not food. What we actually need is food. Oh, it's just crazy. The EU wants biofuels to make up more than 5% of transport fuel used by 2010. I mean, it seems to me that they've been told that that's not sustainable, that they can't do that. They can't level great parts of Malaysia and wherever else it is that they're going to grow this stuff, thereby removing all of the nature's air scrubbing. I'm going to have to put a screen around you, Victoria, honestly.
I'll make us sit in the corner.
You are putting me off. It doesn't make any sense at all. They've been told. It's like a naughty child. You've been told, but they're going to go ahead and do it anyway. They're not part of the solution, they're part of the problem. They want biofuels to make up more than 5% of transport fuel used by 2010, and the US may triple the amount of maize it uses for ethanol over the next decade. Mr. Clinton said, "What's really hurting the food markets is America moving into ethanol." Oh, blimey, get Clinton back in the White House. We don't care which one it is. Actually, we do. There's just something about... I mean, I don't know. I felt... even before we knew that he was, I felt uncomfortable that another Bush would be in the White House. I also feel the same kind of uncomfortable feeling that another Clinton would be in the White House.
Absolutely.
It's just like they're carving it up, they're carving the world up between the two families. How much money do they need? Anyway, this is not what we were talking about. Mr. Clinton said, what's really hurting the food market is America moving into ethanol. People there are moving into corn, and you have pasta riots in Italy related to what some people are doing in farming in America. So in order to save the world, they're going to starve us to death. Like I said, the whole world's gone crazy. Now, the mayoral debate is something that's exciting us here, and indeed it should you. It's your opportunity to put your questions, thoughts, opinions, and otherwise to Ken. I'll give them their full names, because you're not allowed to say Mr. Johnson's first name on its own. It's a £5 fine. Ken Livingstone, Boris Johnson, and Brian Paddock will be in the studio 8 o'clock this Thursday with Nick Ferrari, the Grand Inquisitor, who will be probing them on your behalf. And, of course, you'll be able to call in and ask questions that you want the answers to. And there have to be many and various of those. It's one of the few opportunities that you'll get to see, or rather hear, all three candidates in the same place, because they have been notoriously difficult to get together previously. A lot of journalists are complaining about this. The television companies are sort of following them around, trying to get them to commit. Well, we have them. Ken Livingstone, Boris Johnson, and Brian Paddock, 8 a.m. this coming Thursday on 97.3 LBC. If I were you, I would get your question fully formed, write it down on a piece of paper so you don't and ah, and the best of luck. Now, it's going to be a big list, I reckon. Here comes your party piece, James. What have we talked about today, then, eh?
Party piece where I try to read my own handwriting. Young people need the plague.
Yes.
Talcum powder and deodorants will kill you.
That's right.
The Olympic flame was all about Hitler. Your grinding knees. Yeah. Olympics will cost £20 billion. Who wants a velodrome? Food is up 55% in price since July. Rice and pasta may run out. Petrol in Essex is cheap. 25% of all food is thrown away.
I think a little bit more oomph.
More oomph?
Yes.
John Cleese is our greatest comedian.
Yes.
Or is it Peter Cook or Roy Chubby Brown? Sportsmen are only doing it for themselves. Olympic sports, gymnastics is acting like a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Girls don't do exercise at school because they don't like the style of the kit. David Cameron has found a policy. The weather is getting back to normal.
Is this you with more oomph?
Crazy baboons!
There you
the
go.
uprising of the pigeons.
Yes.
And the rain in Spain is not falling on the plane, or indeed anywhere.
Ah. Anthony is next. This is LBC.
We will buy your car.com.